Hi, my name is Maxwell Taylor, and this is my 147 presentation. Unity Terrain Tool is the devil. So what was I trying to create? I wanted to primarily create something that featured an old road, something you would see like in old Italy or even the UK. I wanted it to have like dense shrubbery kind of off to the side, and I wanted it to wind into a hill. So this is the sketch that I ended up creating, kind of the idea of what this would ultimately end up being. So you have the road with a very minor slope that kind of lead up to it. There's shrubbery kind of off to the side of the road, and then you have little rocks and things that eventually goes in the hills in the background. This is what I ended up making. So you can see, I think I executed the general idea pretty well. To be fair, this is like, I use this shot because it's like the perfectly angled shot. I think it looks the best, but I can show you more when I get to the video. So these are all of the different materials that I made. We'll start off with the road material. You can see there's all of these little muddy bits in between and the rocks with lots of chipped layers. I used a tutorial to kind of teach me how to make the road material itself, but I edited it quite a bit to kind of get it the way I wanted it. Then I made a grass material, which was using kind of like the same muddy bits that I learned how to do on this one, and then overlaid it with this very simple grassy like material. I didn't spend too long on this, but ultimately in the world it still ends up looking great. Then this material is used to transition between the two, because these two normally have a very sharp transition where you suddenly all of the rocks stop and you have lots of grass. So this one, the grass is a little bit more subtle and you have way less rocks, and that's achieved just by, there's a histogram scan pretty early on in the road thing that I think is attached to a flood fill random. So if you turn the histogram scan up, it's grabbing less and less and less of the rocks, so less of them appear in the world, so you can use that to modify the rocks. And then I have the tree bark. This one I did completely by myself. I didn't really use any tutorials. I used just the things that I learned on these other things. It's not perfect. I really wish that the white parts had a little bit more texture, but I was having a hard time getting that to work without getting too sharp of lines. But I do like these little lines that I get going through the middle, because I saw that was happening on a lot of trees that I used for reference. Then I've procedurally placed trees. So I started off with a huge bump map. I edge detected it, flood filled it, used Gaussian noise to destroy some of the trees to give it a little bit of like bumpy randomness, and then I used the road and the hill maps to kind of eliminate there being trees where there really didn't need to be, and then it ended up working quite well. So the code takes in this image and reads the light and the dark spots to decide where trees get placed. This is a quick video just kind of showing everything. You can see when you turn, the world is not very expansive, but the hills you get there, and I really like the way that the whole hills ended up rolling. I think the road looks really good, and I like the different shrubbery that I get there. I don't think I get terribly close to the trees, but with the really basic leaf texture that I have on there, and I think the shrubbery ends up looking really nice, that whiteness to it. I think I used 4 different trees that were all just the same values, but I just randomized the seed a couple times to get ones that I ended up really liking. And then there's Unity asset store rocks kind of sprinkled around randomly. Yeah, and then I credited those. Overall, I think for my project, I think I did a reasonably good job. I could have made a more expansive landscape, but ultimately I was like just trying to get this view initially. And once I achieved that, in the middle, I ran into health problems kind of right in the middle of creating this and had to like step back a little bit, and then I fell behind a lot of work. So it wasn't perfect, but I still think I made something that ended up looking pretty nice. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sorry this came in so late.